Hi everybody, thank you for clicking on this video. This was made for a group that don't practice the martial art Wincheon, but we're discussing the first form, Sunim Tao, and how force is handled in Sunim Tao, and doing sort of comparisons with maybe Tai Chi and Jin. Now, I'm not going to say that what I do is Jin. Whether it's internal or not, that's up for other people to decide. I'm just going to put my point of view forward as to about how I do this particular form and how we handle force within this particular form. Before I do that, it's important to say that Wincheon is not the same as Tai Chi. We are more upright, we use a lot of mobility, and there's lots of strikes and penetration within the things that we do. So it's not always a case of yielding. Sometimes it's directly attacking. Sometimes a lot of yang involved in Wincheon. And there are different thoughts about the forms within the Wincheon. I'm only going to say what I do. I will just briefly mention that some people will use different positions. They may use a clamping stance, and they may use a swiveling off this clamping stance and shapes more than I do in order to deflect force, so they handle it in a different way. For me, there are 6 forms in Wincheon. The first 3 are freehand forms, and they deal with the production and handling of force, and the second 3 are apparatus forms or weapons forms in the dummy, and they are to do with how you apply force to someone else or prevent them applying force to you. Now, Sunim Tao fits right at the start of this. Pretty much you're getting your own way. It deals with straight line energy, it deals with local spirals, and it deals with supporting spirals and sinking and rising. Now, Chung Kyu is the second form. That takes it a slightly stage further, where you're actually dealing with recovering position in sinking somebody else's bridge, or you are getting into a better position than them by making your own bridge. This can be in contact, or it can be simply by moving. And there's a lot more rotation in Chung Kyu and moving than you see in Sunim Tao or Sunim Tao. Bill G is the third of the creation forms, and this uses a lot of momentum. So you create momentum, which of course gives you more power for doing the first 2 forms should you need to. And overall, Wincheon, the big picture is realistically you move seamlessly between these all these forms and the concepts within to apply the whole system. So let's have a look at Jin. Let's have a look at what could be Jin. Now, I stand fairly parallel. My feet are a focal point to where I'm thinking. Now, when I do a form, it's basically moving visualization. I'm learning about my body, I'm learning about the movements that I can make, and I am visualizing what force I'm producing and what force I'm receiving, and I'm visualizing that to go into the ground. So if you're pushing into me, you are pushing into me and it goes into the ground, and if you're pulling me, it's again, that pull is like pulling against the ground. This is the idea. Now, in order to do that, you need to be song, you need to be relaxed, so that the force can travel through you. Now, this often involves sinking, where I'm closing everything up. My spine is, I'm making myself soft, I'm contracting in here to the spine, I'm making the most of these arches in my back, like so. I'm sinking down, and I'm relaxing into the floor, taking everything down this way. So anything that's sort of below this point, I can use gravity, and I can use the sinking of the body and the movement together to press everything down to the floor, so you feel heavy. And when I rise, I am expanding from this position. Maybe you say opening out, and you expand into this position, and again you could use your legs to help with this as well, and again everything's now pushing forward and out again, always linked to the floor. And if you take this position, for example, if I'm here and I'm at the end there, I'm imagining a line down into my feet from this position, straight down to my feet, and the force will be travelling this way. Now, when I'm doing Sulim Tao, there's other elements we've mentioned. First of all, we've just mentioned the sinking and the rising, and allowing your body, so you're kind of relaxed in your body. You're not stiff. If you're stiff, any force will push you backwards, or any force will pull you forwards. You need to make these micro adjustments. I'm going to make a macro adjustment here. So, for example, if a force is coming this way, I'm imagining that I'm having to deal with this force and take it down to my feet in the right point in my feet. So with a very narrow stance that you have in Wing Chun, I might vector forward into this very slightly, and I'm sinking down as I do it, so that it travels the right way, but I'm still very loose, like so. If I'm pulling, somebody's pulling into me or I'm pulling into them, realistically if I pull, I don't do anything, I'm tipping onto my toes. So as I pull, you're also making this link to your quad. I can exaggerate and do this, and this is how you pull. I would never do these macro movements in it, but literally this is the way you have to imagine that your body's going when you're doing a form like this. Now, of course, Wing Chun is an art where I'm pretty much getting my own way here in Sulim Tao, so none of that really you really see in the form. You might see remnants of expanding and contracting, but you don't see it because I'm pretty much getting my own way. But I have supporting spirals. So let's say I do a punch, I do a movement out from the centre, like this, either a long movement or even a short movement like a Tan Sao, like so. They're going to spiral out this way. So long movement, look, spiral out, short movement, spiral out. Again, it doesn't matter. I'm here, look, even in this position, it's allowing the force to come down, but rather, there's still imagining this contact point down to the feet. In reality, being a biologist, is that the sinking goes through the shoulders here. So it's pulling down as well as going directly down to my feet. It's not doing this, I'm travelling like a clamp. You would just simply work like that in biology. But the spirals, when I do a spiral, you've got to imagine that there's also a force that's coming this way against this spiral, because often in Wing Chun I'm in contact and I'll strike through a spiral, or I'll move through a spiral, or I'll take my body into it, or I'll bring my body forward into it. And as a result, there is also a force here. Now, the spiral itself, the local spiral, will deflect force away. But also when we're talking about letting this force go through in a complex nature, not only am I letting it all go straight into my feet, I'm also spiraling across my body into this. Now I'm not making a big movement here, I'm relaxed here, and I'm visualizing how everything's going down, not only this way, but this way into this side, if I've got contact on this side. So as I expand out, I'm imagining that it's going through my body, it's going straight down into this foot, the majority. Some's coming here, but the majority is going to this foot, so I have a slight spiral reaction. In reality, there, I'm looking at this physically, but the actual thing is that it's just me visualising where the force is going. So this side, I'll visualise it going, spiralling out from that leg, spiralling across my body, and spiralling out into this arm. So that's kind of how we handle the force. Same here when I'm coming back in and I'm relaxing. Look, I'm going to drop down here. Look, and you see I'm sinking here. I've got the blade of my arm here is transferring the force again into my feet here, and it's more of a pulling action here. So I'm making sure that everything's being visualised into my feet. I hope that helps. If you've got any comments, please make them. It's difficult to expand a full idea on form into a few minutes for a video, so please ask some questions, and I hope it was helpful.